All right, Alec, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Just sitting down and putting a little choose your own adventure together. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Are you
Called
making one? You writing one?
it's called Jabberwocky. Yeah, it's
Jabberwocky,
called
yeah,
Jab.
yeah. You just need a little company to pick you up, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. A little choose your own adventure excitement.
Yeah. So, if you're new to the channel, we've gone through. I'm a Black Mirror fan, and I've been taking Alec through the episodes for the first time. And so we have actually reactions to all the episodes from season 1 through 4. And so the next up on the docket is Bandersnatch, which is an interactive film that took place between season 4 and 5. This was like December 2018. And so we had to talk on this as well, but obviously we can't do a reaction to it because it's not a linear thing. It jumps all over the place. And so yeah, we're just gonna do a review on it. We're gonna rank it just like the other Black Mirror episodes, and then just kind of whenever we get a chance, we'll be doing the Black Mirror episodes, season 5 and season 6, and going through them. All right, so Alec, what did you think about Bandersnatch?
Huh. Okay. I thought it was good-ish. I really liked. Okay. Concept is amazing. Let me just say that just to start things off with the discussion. The concept is amazing. A choose your own adventure, like an interactive movie.
Yeah.
If you implement that well, you can really like that. That's such a cool idea. That's such a cool thing. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of that's what like Dragon's Lair was, right? It was sort of like an interactive movie, like an animated movie, Don Bluth film that like you get to play essentially. And that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of the cool sort of point to that. That wasn't without its weaknesses, however. Dragon's Lair was kind of extremely difficult. It was the reaction times that you needed to do button presses, which when to use your sword versus just putting a different direction or not inputting a direction, very
Mm-hmm.
unclear, which would make the game very frustrating. This thankfully doesn't have those frustrations. Instead, what it can't do is stick the landing.
How so?
Um, I so if you navigate yourself to based on the ending that I got first, so I don't know if I'm gonna be honest. I went back and because I wanted to see more endings, so I went back and after I went through the whole thing, I went through a guide and I found my way to kind of like get to some of the different endings because I wanted to see some.
Hmm.
There's really only one that I found really satisfying at all. All the rest kind of
Aren't really endings, right? They're just
yeah, they just kind of feel like the plot just ends weirdly. It's
yeah,
very strange.
yeah. I couldn't remember exactly because I had watched this before and done it back when it came out. I couldn't remember exactly, but I figured it was like there has to be a true ending, right? Like one where it'll just like actually resolve itself and doesn't leave you with like the TV at the end, and it's like you can go back. But none of them really do. Even like the most
Yeah,
true ending, like there's not one definitive. I guess there's one that's the closest to being the true ending,
yeah,
but it still feels like it's just kind of it's all right. That's it. You want to
yeah.
go back?
Charlie Brooker said that they don't feel that there is a definitive ending to it.
Hmm.
That's how they designed it. But like to me,
Yeah.
there's only one that's actually I find kind of satisfying. And that's the Netflix ending.
Which one? The
Oh no, not the Netflix ending. It was the no. There's one ending that it's the symbol ending where you direct him to it's the one that you have to have him it's basically the one that the game comes out and it gets a 5 out of 5.
5 stars out of five.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 stars. So he's actually able to complete the game.
Yeah.
But it just took him to kill his dad and then
Oh, it sucks.
specifically chopping his body up because it takes him longer to get
Yeah.
caught. So the game still comes out, and then you get the news report later that it's like, oh yeah, but someone else, and it's the daughter of that other Pearl.
Right, wants
becomes
to
like
remake
is like
it.
a programming and it's trying to remake it. It's
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
brilliant, and it's like I want to try to remake it and finish off some of this other stuff,
It
maybe
is.
explore some of the paths he wasn't able to do, and then it's like the cycle repeats. That's great. I love that. That's a fantastic horror film premise,
Hmm.
and I think that's the most satisfying and the most satisfying ending. But I still
Yeah, yeah.
didn't feel like it was. It didn't still like it just felt like it was missing something.
Right, right. I felt the
I don't
same
know.
way, and I think one of the things is, I mean, the whole concept and how they put it together is supposed to be a message, I guess, that you don't really have a choice. You know, ultimately, it's the illusion of choice. It's not like when you hear that it's an interactive thing, you're like, okay, I can actually have, we'll have branching paths and stuff.
Right.
But it's like you don't really have much of a say.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you can go down this path, and it's just like an unsatisfying ending where it's like, yeah, okay, you really got to go back to to do the different choice and then make it more proper and try to
Yeah.
make it better. So, like, it's just kind of, I think it's trying to play with the format to make
Yeah.
its message, like, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, I'm sure you want to, when you go into something that's called interactive, almost, it's an interactive movie, you want to have more actually of a say, but I guess it's antithetical to the message, but.
Yeah, but I think having the idea, having it playing with the idea of like of does he have any free will? Because you're the one that's controlling everything he's doing, supposedly, um, is interesting. Like, because it's like a way to there, and there's only really one. I would say there's only really one path that that makes you feel kind of bad for doing it. You could argue that most of it kind of does, but there's only one that's like that feels very pointed. That's the Netflix ending, the one where you actually are like quote unquote communicating with him. Like I'm watching you through Netflix right now.
Mm.
That particular path is the only one that's like that sort of like makes you feel a little maybe a little bad for doing stuff to him. But so that's kind of an interesting. That's sort of an interesting experimental thing. In and of itself, there.
Hmm.
Big thunderclap there.
But
Uh, um,
yeah, so the
but
biggest thing is that you're not really having a say in the story. It's just
yeah,
kind of that is part of the format of the episode.
right,
That's like how
yeah,
you have to navigate the story is just by clicking the options. It's not like, ooh, what was your ending? I got this. It's like you're
yeah.
probably not going to be satisfied just like, oh, whatever happens, happens. Because half the time it's like, all right.
I mean, there's
is
ultimately
the,
only five endings, right? So or something like that. I think there's like one like super secret
there's
one that you can get,
5
which basically
main endings, but
just
there's like a ton of
yeah,
different.
different variations on it. Yeah, I think.
There's a lot of them. There's a
Yeah,
super secret one, which I didn't get, but I had read
yeah.
it after the fact, where the freaking game developer, was his name Jerome?
J- j- it's a C. I think it starts with a C, doesn't it?
Jerome
Like
F. Davies is the
oh, where Jerome F.
the
Oh, where that guy
the
he comes.
author. I
Oh,
mean,
that's right. Yeah, he
he comes and
right
kills him in
the
like a dream thing.
oh okay cool.
That's like, that's like a very specific thing. You have to like select the family photo twice, and that happens. There's apparently a lot of different things that can happen from selecting things multiple times, like
Yeah,
going back and hitting it again.
yeah,
Um, the point I kind of found annoying was that I wanted to see all the endings, and I think it would have been a lot better if they actually had like a flow chart, like straight up Zero Escape, Virtue's Last Reward flow chart that you could go
yeah.
back to.
And that's but the thing is that's hard. I think that's sort of hard for them to do on Netflix in general.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how the programming of that works because it's not. But don't they release games on Netflix now? Or isn't there like a
Yeah,
way to like
Netflix games is a thing
yeah?
apparently. Yeah,
So it's
so you
like
think you would be able to do that? Well, I don't know. This was 2018, but so this was
yeah,
pretty groundbreaking for the time. I remember
it was
that.
pretty groundbreaking. Yeah. I don't know. I think there are some other examples of this. But this is the first. This was like the first one that was very much geared towards an adult audience. Most
Hmm.
of the other ones are like interactive kid stuff. Well, Puss in
Puss in
Book.
Book.
we talked
God,
about,
this doesn't
which
sound
we
kid
hate
friendly.
the name of. It sounds, I mean, that could be adult oriented. I don't know, but
No, but I found it just
yeah,
like at a certain point towards the end when I was trying to do a couple more endings, I was like, okay, I can't really do it without restarting at this point because like my
yeah,
you can go back a couple decisions and it was like I was like getting more and more limited. So I was like,
yeah.
okay, I just got to
Well, yeah,
look up on YouTube at this point. I don't feel like restarting the
yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah, I had to. I looked up some like a flow chart essentially, or a diagram more or less showing. And there was one that was like claiming that you could do it. You could supposedly do it this way, but then basically it was to see what the Netflix ending was. I
Hmm.
was able to see most of the other ones with the path that I went on, but then it was sort of it was kind of annoying because it was like, yeah, I had to like restart the whole thing, and I had to like skip ahead, and then there's no easy way to skip ahead because the thing is gonna pause you before you have to make a choice, so you can't. So sometimes you can't skip ahead. So then it's like, yeah, that's kind of a whole thing. That's
Yeah, so they could
something that visual novels have perfected over time,
yeah they could
where you can
refined
skip
that.
stuff.
That needs some work for sure.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is they did have a couple references to Black Mirror, which is an
Yeah.
interesting couple choices. It's like a select couple references. One of them happens
Yeah.
to be Metalhead, that has
Yeah.
a like an Atari looking game. Uh,
Yep.
Metlhedd, of course.
Yep. Metalhead. Um,
And then the whole
you
white bear
had
logo was
the white bear logo is like foundational. It's like the symbol,
yeah, it's the symbol,
basically.
and it
That's
ends up like uh, it's almost like they retconned the symbol, and now it is the branching
yeah, the branching paths, which
branching paths.
that's actually something I really liked because
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of because it's like a creepy. It makes something like so mundane and normal into something that's really creepy, and that's interesting. That's fun.
Hmm.
There was another one too. There was another Black Mirror reference as well. I think there was the name of one of the other games that was yeah, well, whatever the new video game that that Will Poulter's character had developed and that was shipping out. I don't remember like the new game that he had made had a Black Mirror thing,
Um,
I believe.
I mean, and looking at all the endings, apparently there's like super secret ones that would like link you to like a QR code that would take you
Yes. Yep.
to I didn't get these ones, but
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
nosedive, right?
Nosedive. That was it. Yeah, nosedive. That's it.
Because it was
Yep.
spelled
I was like,
like
that's cool.
Nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird.
But nosedive being there, that was kind of cool. I was like, that's fun.
Right.
I think there was another.
But
I think there
yeah,
was
there's
another one.
apparently like one of the like the QR code could take you to a thing that would be a reference to nosedive and the rating system. And then
Okay.
one of them would take you to like Hang the DJ dating app thing, and
That's kind of fun.
then one of them would actually let you play the game Nosedive. So
Mm.
yeah, I didn't get all those, but like I said, I wish there was an easier way to do it. There wasn't like okay, I don't really feel like restarting the whole thing to get to this point, but
Oh, Butler attends counseling at the St. Juniper Clinic, named after St.
oh,
Junipero.
okay. Always it's like anything
Yeah.
like anything in that field is gonna be Saint
Yep.
Junipers.
In one ending, the sound of a computer data tape recording is heard. Loading is a sound like a ZX Spectrum generates the QR code with a white bear glyph that leads to this Tuckersoft website. Yeah, there you go.
Hmm.
Um, this ending was at one point intended to be a clue to a real-life treasure hunt in which people could find Bandersnatch cassettes inspired by the 1979 picture book Masquerade. They gave hints to a location of buried, bejeweled golden hair.
Like Ready Player One style.
Yeah, that's pretty. That would have been kind of cool, but I guess they probably just didn't have enough time to pull it out. Well, from what I was reading about it, like this took up so many resources that they like delayed season 5 for this basically, to make it all work
Yeah.
and everything. So
So, do you know who Jeff Minter is?
no,
So Jerome Davies, the cameo I mentioned where he comes and like kills him in a dream. The
yeah,
author
yeah,
of that book, he's played by Jeff Minter in this cameo, who is actually like a game developer in real life. He like worked on what was it? Some like Atari Jaguar games. You know, he's like an old school game developer. He just had a cameo in here
Oh, okay.
as like
I just
the author.
I was just like, oh yeah, okay, I've heard of Yak. Yeah, Jeff Minter. Okay, yeah, I have heard of this guy before. Okay,
He had a cameo in there.
that's pretty cool.
How'd you feel about the whole the game development situation going on? Like this guy is like, we're gonna be the Motown of game development. We're gonna have one department just to work on sound, one for graphics, one for gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice, cute little commentary on like what the game development scene was like in the '80s. I don't really know too much about. If I'm being honest, I don't really know a whole lot about the British game development scene, other than I know it didn't have the same sort of decline that the gaming scene had in the United States. They still continued to develop for the Commodore, for the Spectrum, for the shoot. I'm trying to think of what what one of the other computers was. Amiga.
ZX Spectrum.
That was really big. The Amiga. So they did continue to develop for that throughout the 1980s. So, but I don't really know a whole lot about that scene. It did feel very like there was some sort of like it. If you know anything that like sort of was going on at Atari during the heyday of game development before the crash in the United States, there was a lot of like freewheeling, which again didn't really show up so much here, but like the head guy seemed like he didn't really know a whole lot was going on, other than he's just like, hey, he's
like freaking
stuff. Yeah.
Straight out of USS Callister. That guy who's like, oh, I'm the head of everything, but like not really doing the the work, you know.
Yeah, wait, isn't this like the third episode about like game development now?
Yeah, with playtest and
that's that's interesting. So, is Charlie Brooker a gamer? I don't know.
But seeming more and more like.
Yeah.
But so, and then you also have this guy Colin, who is like a known game developer in this world, who has like a whole weird scene where he like is like wants to give you drugs and then like jumps off the balcony, and then it's like a dream supposedly, but not.
If you jump off the balcony there, I didn't. I had him do it, but then he's not present when you go back in time after that, or after that dream happens. Supposedly, he's not around for the rest of it.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Right, which is like unexplained.
He's not dead, but he's not actually dead though, because I think there's an ending where after all that happens, his like girlfriend or wife or whoever like comes and he's just like, no, well, he couldn't have died because he that didn't happen. It's like, what are you talking about? You didn't come over. And it was sort of like this weird.
Yeah, like that didn't happen. She comes over. Kitty, of course, my favorite character.
Kitty. Right.
But like, it's almost unexplained though. It's like it's like it was supposedly a dream, but like no one knows where he is and what happened. So
but it's but that all just goes back to the idea of like there are really no choices, because like you choose not to take the drugs, he spikes your drink anyway. So
right. I made the choice for you.
You get hyped up on acid anyway, and so like the scenes with them interacting were, I think, some of my favorites. I really like the whole them like sort of like coming to an understanding in the at the game development studio, because like during the very beginning, if you accept, then it just automatically like it's like, the game sucked because it was rushed out, and then that like basically forces you to restart. But but when you do that, then they all like kind of know that was one thing that's never explained either. It's like, how do they retain they somehow know that they're having deja vu moments, that they're retaining this memory of this, they're seeing through the machine, through the matrix, so to say, so to use a much later example.
I mean, some of the stuff is unexplained, and there's some like fourth wall breaking moments that are just like, okay, we're just going to do this for this storyline where you start fighting Dr. Haynes, your therapist. You
Oh
just start
yeah,
fighting.
start fighting. Well, there's I think if you jump out the window, then it becomes super fourth wall, where it's like a director yells cut.
Yes, yeah, there's
So,
that
yeah.
too. It's like,
So
okay,
it's
all right.
it's um yeah.
But
So it's I don't know.
but
There's
then
a
there's a
lot of
whole weird like mystery element to it where he's like getting into this safe where like turns out he's
yeah.
being
So that
monitored and
yeah, that whole track. There's like he's like having delusions that he's being, or is it delusions that he's being monitored, and that this whole his whole life was a lie. But my first ending, which is actually like I felt like was semi satisfying. Not so much it like because I automatically was like, all right, I want to see what the rest of them are. But it was the one during the flashback where I went through the mirror. So I did that where I like went through the mirror, and then he goes back to his childhood and he changes it so that he makes it so that he wakes up and gets the bear from his dad
mhm.
and stops him, and then going back in time again, and then when he finds it, um I had it so he went with his mom, because I was like, that's like a butterfly effect
Yeah,
thing,
it's one of the
or it's
better
like you go back
endings
into
too.
it's like you go back in time, so it's like, well, then he's not gonna live. He's gonna like close the loop essentially. So he's like, he's not gonna live this miserable life he's in. He's gonna die happy with his mom, and it's like, okay, that's an interesting.
Mhm.
Uh, it's dark in its own way, because then it flashes back to like then it flashes back into like a therapy session. He's just dead,
Yeah, yeah,
which is wild too. Which is like, what's going on with that? It's like stuff like that is all very interesting, but it still never builds up to a satisfying conclusion, no matter what
yeah,
way you go. And I don't know if it's just because it's so disparate, like maybe the building pieces themselves are not as satisfying. I don't know.
yeah.
I can't really put my finger on what it is that, because I think I do genuinely like this a lot, but I there's something that's just holding it back, and I can't quite put my
I think
finger
what
on it.
it is I think that even with a branching path story like this, especially if the whole idea is that you don't have any actual say, I think it
Hmm.
really is missing. It needs a definitive ending for everything to tie together. When we have like
Yeah.
little moments where it's like different random things happening, it's like, okay, it's a TV set. Okay, you're fighting the therapist, and then you go back to doing normal stuff. Okay, you go back in time and do this, and end up dying with your mom. It's like none of them are really. They're all like different things, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you can. There's a fun in like, oh, let me go discover all the different endings, but you don't have a cohesive narrative that brings it all together in a satisfying way, which I think is what a lot of these branching paths are effective with.
Yeah.
Like Virtue's Last Reward. I've been watching people play that again recently, and remembering how much I love
Such
that
a
game.
good game. Such an amazing
And
game.
that's one of like the best examples I think of like branching paths, but it's not like, okay, you just do one path and that's like, okay, that's my ending. It's like the game is definitely wants you to do all the different paths and bring everything together, because you're like, you have a true ending, and you need certain details from different paths to bring it together. This one, it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, we have different paths and they're not all really connected in a satisfying way. I think that's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that about sums it up, honestly. I will give a thumbs up. Music was pretty good. I like the fact that it let you pick kind of like different sort of like electronic bands, more or less, of the time period to sort of
Hmm.
listen to in the background while doing your game development sesh. While he's going in and he's hacking the mainframe, he's developing
Yeah.
Bandersnatch to um it's very fun. Like I said, I like it. I wish I kind of agree with you. Let's just go back to that. I agree with you that if there had been a definitive ending, and maybe if the other endings hadn't been so like, it feels like they're completely different. Like they almost have, for them to work. It almost feels like it only. I'm trying to think of how to describe this. So like the ending where, or like, I don't even know if it's an ending, but like the storyline track of it being all a conspiracy, and everything being, or if that's just like a perception thing that he's having. That feels like a whole completely different scenario, and compared to the one where the game comes out and he releases. So you've got all that other stuff with the conspiracy,
Yeah.
or is it real? And then going back in time, resolving stuff with his mom, versus confronting stuff with like actually developing the game, versus your meta endings with the Netflix stuff, versus going to jail. This is another ending. I don't know. It all feels very like
It's disjointed, right?
yeah, it's disjointed. I think that's the problem. Like having it so that you have these other endings, but maybe so they're all sort of tying back to the same general framework rather than them feeling like they're almost completely different stories or different things entirely, may
Yeah.
have made it so that like if you'd given a full definitive ending, then you can actually they all tie into that same theme the same way rather than it being kind of like a little disparate. Yeah, I think that would have been better, but
Like the idea that Jerome Davies had a similar trajectory, the author, where
mm,
he'd like experienced like he didn't feel like he had full free will, and this
yeah,
idea that there are parallel universes was like his whole
right,
thing that he brought up, which
right.
seemed delusional, but then given the new context, they're like, oh, was it delusion? These parallel universes, it's not very effective when it's like usually when you go parallel universes, it's like, okay, I made this decision differently. This happens. I could do anything right now, be wacky, and that happened in
Yeah,
some reality. But in this one, it's like, okay, in one reality, it's just a TV set. In one reality, you're in this program and control study environment where your whole trauma, your childhood trauma, was manufactured,
right,
and like that's not just something done differently. It's like a completely different reality.
right. Yeah.
It's like, so
So if
that's where
they,
it's not as effective for me.
yeah, and you could have leaned. Yeah. I guess that is where that came from. But like it didn't lean enough into that idea. I guess or
Mm.
something. Maybe if yeah, yeah. It just feels like it does feel maybe too limited by the format. Like maybe both too limited and also not going like far enough with it.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
it's almost like all about the format. Like the story kind of just
Yeah,
is like, all right, it's happening. You don't really care too much except for little things,
yeah.
but it's like, yeah, the format drives it, and the story is just the
Format drives
backseat.
it, and yeah, because I never felt like I cared all that much about our protagonists.
Yeah. Because if you play into the
Um,
delusion thing, like we don't know,
yeah,
you don't really have any answers. Like, was it all delusion? Was some of it delusion? We don't know. If we're
yeah,
gonna go with the idea that maybe it was all delusion, so it makes sense that it doesn't. The different things that are happening, different times, or different realities.
hmm
Then okay, but I think you would need that concrete ending to like make sure that's established. Not just like, all right, well, it's kind of up to your whatever you want to think.
yeah. Well, that's why, and I think that's why I like the ending where it almost comes across as Bandersnatch as a like almost like a mimetic virus that infects
Yeah.
people. Like it almost comes across more as
Don't try to
like a
remake it.
like an almost demonic presence to a degree. Like even interacting with this idea of Bandersnatch is corrupting and will drive you insane essentially.
Hmm.
Um, that's more interesting than whatever than the whole everything else. So if you'd made that the definitive ending, I don't know, but he didn't want it to be that way because he said, Charlie Brooker said, oh, they can all be the ending. And it's like,
Right.
well, okay, I guess here's the thing. Maybe some people wouldn't like the idea that it's like a mimetic thing, um,
Right.
as opposed to people who would prefer it. I don't know, just to him be crazy or something. I don't know.
Well, if it's like the whole idea is you don't really have a choice. He like the Stefan says it
Yeah,
to us. He's like, you don't really have a choice. I'm going to decide the ending anyway.
yeah,
If we go with that concept, that I think would be a little more profound if they were like, okay, this whole concept you came in here for an interactive movie, Like, you just were playing into our hand. It's like, okay, you're just playing out our story. You didn't really have a choice. And here's the actual ending. You don't have any choice. It all leads to this ending. That would be a little more profound to me. You know, if it was like a traditional interactive, like, Telltale game style thing, you know, I don't like it when all paths lead to the same thing. But in this idea where it's like a bigger message, I think it would be more effective in that way.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Wasn't there a? I'm trying to think if there was one of those episodic games that does play into that idea. I don't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember, but
there was this whole idea in Life is Strange. Like, they toyed with the idea is like, okay, you keep preventing this person from dying, and it's trying to course correct. It's trying to course correct, and I think that's a cool.
Yeah, all of reality is essentially course correcting.
Yeah.
That is the most interesting idea. In retrospect, that's the most interesting idea of Life. Life is Strange is something that I feel like I want to revisit at some point. Speaking of which,
I really like Life is Strange, and I haven't played the other ones, so I would like to do that.
I haven't either. So, yeah, I've heard really good stuff about 2. I've heard not very good things about 3.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I've heard Tell Me Why is really good. I've heard.
Tell Me Why. Yeah. Haven't heard much about Captain Spirit. All right, the free
the free one, the free prequel to Life is Strange 2. Yeah,
have to hit that.
It was not in a Nintendo Direct. I feel like it was like Captain Spirit. It was like, whoa. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, the concept's cool. It's just not as fleshed out. You know, the story is not as solid, and you're not like really relating and loving the characters as much.
Yeah.
But
that's why I said I like the scene with Will Poulter's character, because he's like the most colorful person there is. Just because he's like drugs and like
drugs, absolutely
weird. Yeah, basically just drugs. Yeah, it just makes it more colorful, I guess. So yeah.
But it's interesting looking back at articles and stuff when this came out. You know, there was a lot of. I feel like over time, I haven't looked at like concrete, like where do people rank this and stuff like that. I didn't want to cloud my opinion too much, but it seemed like at the time people were like, "Wow, this is great. This is big," and then but more recent times I don't really hear about it talked about as much. And I remember my brother and I, when we first watched it, were like, "It's okay," you know. But
yeah, I feel like because of what it was doing, people were probably a little bit more positive about it. Now, watching it now, when the freshness is worn off. To me, it just feels more like an interesting curiosity as opposed to something that I want to do again, ever.
Right. I think
so.
Because I was not really looking forward to watching this again. I was like, and knowing it was an interactive thing where you don't really have a choice. It's like, okay, I have to like be here ready to click. But I knew I didn't like it that much the first time.
Yeah.
But I maybe got more of appreciation the second time, even if I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But I think it was more of a spectacle. Like when it first came out, there was this whole thing about like people hunting down like the different endings, because there wasn't just like a guide out there like there is now.
Right.
So people were having fun finding the different endings, these quirky little things. Netflix would drop tweets like, "No, you think you've seen all the endings of Bandersnatch? Try looking at the family photo twice."
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I think it would have been done. It would have been more effective if you let me go back more easily in like a flow chart.
Yeah, I think that would have worked.
Because I literally relied on, okay, all right, I don't really feel like restarting. Let me just go on the internet and look up the endings.
Well, that's what I did. I mean, that's what I did, right? That's what I did to find it.
I did a few endings that I could do from just going back, but then it became like, okay, I'm not going to restart the whole thing.
Yep.
All right, so this is a movie review. We got to give it a rating. What do we rate Bandersnatch? By the way, worth noting, this was based on an actual game, Bandersnatch, that was that ended up tanking a company, and they were trying to make a game called Bandersnatch. It's a real life thing. Apparently, like, I didn't read the whole thing, but I know it was like a very ambitious thing similarly to this. Like, they had ambitions to have like an add-on hardware that would go with the console that would like give them the capabilities to do the ambitious idea of this game, and then the company ended up falling through, similarly to one of the endings in this.
I liked all the stuff about the idea of the game design. I guess we didn't really go so much into that, but like I actually
Mhm.
liked a lot of just the idea of the concepts. The general theming of this was really good. I think they played into the theme, they played into the idea really well. Just in it being about like him adapting a massive choose your own adventure book into a game. It was just neat. Like I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of like 80s nostalgia baiting, and
Mhm.
these days I think did it in a way that felt a lot more like it was a lot more restrained than I feel like some things have gone and done, but like it's just in terms of like the art and things like that in the book, and seeing old computers and stuff working. I don't know. There's stuff about that I appreciate a lot. So, um, and again, just as a concept, I think it is interesting. So I give it points for its originality, but it still doesn't really reach too high on my list. I think.
Well, let's first give it a rating, and then we'll
Okay,
rank it.
give it a rating. Do we usually do that for? I guess we
It's
do.
a movie review.
Is a movie review. It's like probably like a 6.5. I think it gets the most points for its uniqueness. It really does. I think that's what stands out about it. But like everything else is sort of hindering it from attaining any other sort of grand heights.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something that I never really had much interest in seeing ever again. So
Yeah.
so
Doesn't do good
it's
on the
like
rewatch. Yeah.
yeah,
I would give it a 6.5 also. I think that's a good rating for
yeah,
it. Tarqaron score
yeah,
6.5. Um,
yeah.
so
So
not quite our stamp of approval, but we do appreciate some things about it for sure.
yeah.
And I think with some refinement, this format really has a lot of potential. I don't know if other things have achieved it that I don't know about in different
Yeah, I
ways,
don't know
but I
either.
don't know.
It seems like it would be particularly expensive to try to do because obviously you have to film enough stuff to justify it. And I think I was reading there was over 2 hours of content. It was like 150 or maybe 2.5 hours, I think, of different permutations of
Hmm.
everything. Just like that's like a 3 hour movie that you're essentially turning into a 70 to 80 to 90 minute experience, more or less. So
Yeah.
it's like that's pretty impressive. Um, so yeah, but it is what it is. So
So now let's rank it with our other Black Mirror episodes. All right, here's it's a long list, but here's
it is.
my current list ranking of the episodes: Hang the DJ, Playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, USS Callister, Nosedive, Shut Up and Dance, Be Right Back, Hated in the Nation, Crocodile, White Bear, Black Museum, National Anthem, Men Against Fire, Archangel, Waldo Moment, Metalhead on the Atari.
Metalhead on the Atari. Um,
And your ranking?
my ranking is I need to like rewrite this down somewhere because this is in it looks horrendous. I can't even really make sense of it. So from what I can
Oh wait,
tell,
I think I have your ratings maybe.
you might have it
Yeah, I have
rewritten.
yours.
Okay, so you can correct where I make a mistake here. I playtest, White Christmas, Entire History of You, Nosedive,
So you
USS Callister.
so you apparently changed it because I have an
Oh,
arrow where you put Nosedive below Hang the DJ, and you
okay. So
put Metalhead below Waldo Moment.
yeah, I feel like I moved Hang the DJ up, and I didn't make note of that. Okay, and I did move Metalhead under Wall Moment. Yeah, that's
So it would be
good. I'm glad I
USS
did that.
Callister, Hang the
Or
DJ, Nosedive.
hang, USS Callister, Hang the DJ, Nosedive. Okay, that all makes sense. San Junipero, 15 Million Merits, Be Right Back, Hated in the Nation, Shut Up and Dance, Crocodile, Black Museum, White Bear, National Anthem, Men Against Fire, Archangel, Waldo Moment, Metalhead.
We have like the same. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bottom 7 or bottom 8 from Crocodile all the way down. The
Wow.
same order. All right. So where does this go? It's interesting to.
I think this is for me. I think I would put it like it's so hard. Just below Black Museum, I think, on my list.
Interesting. I was thinking literally either that or right below National Anthem.
Mm.
It's right there on the cusp for me there.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting once we're all caught up to do like a full tier list. Will be very interesting. All these episodes. Let's see. Which is National Anthem above or below it? I would put National Anthem above it for now. So I'll put it below. Rounding out the top of the bottom 5, I think it's appropriate for me. But you'll put it above National Anthem?
Yep. I think I put it just below Black Museum, right?
Oh, so above White Bear.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's like right around in there. I think I would put it just above White Bear. I think for now I might reconsider, but
I think White Bear is definitely better in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you get a lot more out of it, and it's more definitely more interesting on a rewatch and more effective, I think. And this doesn't exist without White Bear, you know.
It's true. It just doesn't exist.
The whole branching
should
paths.
Exist
yeah.
without, you know, branch.
Right there it is, Bandersnatch.
Yeah. Yep.
Something about that name too. Just it hits. Bandersnatch.
It does. I mean, it's like that's.
It
does
feel like
it's
an
Lewis.
Atari Jaguar game, right?
It does. Very like, you know.
Yo, do you? It's a
taking stuff
hidden
from,
gem.
like,
It's a hidden
literature.
gem. Do you? Bandersnatch is worth
gem.
like $300. It's hard to find.
Thanks, Metal Jesus. Thanks, Metal Jesus and Radical Reggie are talking about their hidden gems.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. You just got Bandersnatched.
I think Guru Larry would be more like that. Here's Bandersnatch.
I don't know who that
I'm
is.
Guru Larry.
Right.
But hello, you.
All right. Next
Larry.
up on the docket is Black Mirror season 5. Whenever we get around to it, it's not gonna be all in a row like in the past. We would do like a season of Survivor and a season of Black Mirror week after week. Not quite this time.
We'll
but,
sprinkle it around elsewhere.
Sprinkle it around. I mean, there's only 3 episodes to get through. Shouldn't be too hard to sprinkle. And then season 6 awaits, which we both are oblivious to. So
looking very much forward to that. I've heard nothing. I've heard no one talk about it. I've like tried to avoid that like the plague. So I don't know if it's like I don't know if people like it or don't like it. I don't know anything about that. So
I heard a couple things about like one episode, but like I've been trying to avoid it. It just popped up.
Yeah.
Like just on thoughts about it, but don't know about the season overall or anything. All right, and I don't know what happens in the episode, so But yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll get to them as soon as possible. You know, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right. If you enjoyed this video, what video should our viewers watch next?
You should go check out our review of Devil's Advocate.
That's right. Sure.
A lot of choices, a lot of decisions.
I was thinking 12 minutes because it's like similarly.
Oh
you have
yeah,
to keep
that's
going
actually a
back.
better one. Yeah, 12 minutes. Do that one. Babe?
Freaking annoying
Babe?
as hell to keep dying and going back and
That was Joseph
Sir.
Gordon-Levitt, right?
Yeah. Daisy Ridley was there too.
Daisy Ridley was
like,
there.
Crazy.
Yeah, but Willem Dafoe was like the best part of it. 'Cause it's Willem Dafoe. I mean, that man's a gem, a complete and utter
I
treasure.
guess that wasn't all their best work, but
No, it was not. No, it's not. That's not going to go down in history as Willem Dafoe's best work. That's for dang sure.
So that's gonna be it. It's gonna be it. Go check out the Devil's Advocate review. All right, Al Pacino's there. Don't worry.
Yeah. He's there.
Thank you for
crazy.
watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and if you do, be sure to read the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast. All right, click the link in the description for our social media, and hit that notification bell too.
All right.
You don't really have a choice. It's already
You
decided.
don't have a choice. You do not have a choice. You must.